Welcome to Sister Team Podcast. Today I'm Diego Almeida. I'm going to be your host today. I have a special guest. It's a guy who I started following on Instagram and I saw his concept of Judo and Jiu-Jitsu is awesome. That's what this podcast about. Talk about Jiu-Jitsu, business, and everything particular in martial art and fitness world. Today I have Dr. Rhadi Ferguson. He's four-time national champion. It's a 2004 Olympian. And I went to the Olympics in Jiu-Jitsu Black Belt and honor from Tampa, Florida Judo. Welcome to the podcast, my friend.
Oh man, thank you so much, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for it's a such an honor for me. I was looking up your social medias and everything, and I saw so much good free content up there, honestly, and I was like, wow, this guy's legit. And I see, like the work you've been doing with the youth and the kids, I think that's awesome. Good job.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
All right. So I just want to know, like, where you're located, where you're from, and I know you're like from Florida, right? You live in Florida right now, but
Yeah, I'm originally from Miami, Florida,
okay.
and I live in Tampa, Florida right now. I've traveled around a lot. My parents moved out of Miami when I was 12. Went to Pennsylvania. From Pennsylvania, that's when I was introduced briefly to wrestling. I wrestled in ninth grade, and when I was younger, it had junior high school, not middle school. So I wrestled in ninth grade only, and I never wrestled in high school. And then I started playing football, and then we moved from Pennsylvania to Maryland. And I went to high school in Maryland, finished high school in Maryland, and then I went to Howard University in Washington, D.C. Well, I played football, I wrestled, and I ran track. And I ended up starting in all three sports at the Division I level. And I had the distinct pleasure of wrestling in college, but never wrestling in high school. And I did that with a judo background. And I did not do any judo after we left Miami at the age of 12. And after I graduated from Howard University in 1997, I started judo again. And I graduated in 1997. And then 7 years later, I was on the Olympic team in 2004.
That's awesome. So in 2007, how old are you?
In 2000,
No, and when you 2000 no 1997, and when you started judo again, right? And how old
yes,
was you there?
20, 21 years old.
Wow, that's crazy, man. Because normally I've been around judo for a long time. So judo normally starting really young, and if
I
you're
did.
like,
I started judo when I was 6, and then I stopped when I was 12, and I didn't start back again until 21.
wow, that's a lot of dedication right there. This is awesome. Because as I have a guy. He's I'm pretty sure you have heard Guilherme Smith. He's now is a top one like in Brazil from Newaza.
Mhm.
He's been good. He didn't got selected to the last Olympic, but he caught to the next one. He's a young kid, and he was telling me like how works his stuff. Like nowadays the new rule set and things like that. Like you have to like run the circuit, win and things like that, and make points and stuff. And it's crazy because he just turned 19, and he said it's hard. The older you're
Oh,
getting,
the older you get, the harder it gets, man. And I used to train a lot in Brazil. I trained with Luciano Correa. I trained with Mario Sabino, and I used to stay with Flavio Canto. So when I went to Brazil, I stayed with Flavio Canto, and we would train in Rio, and then we'd also train in São Paulo at Pinheiros, and also in Projeto Futuro in São Paulo.
mm-hmm.
And we would man, we trained 2 3 times a day, and it was absolutely miserable. And I remember training with Flavio because Flavio Canto was in such a great shape. We train in the morning, and then I go back to Flavio's house, and I take a shower, and I go to sleep, and he'd be heading out of the house with his surfboard. I said, "What are you doing, Flavio?" He says, "Oh man, I'm going surfing." I said, "You're going surfing?" He would finish practice, he would go surf, come back, and then do the middle day session, and then come back and then do the session in the evening. It was incredible. But he used to tell me stories about why can't I remember his name right now? Uh, Aurelio Miguel. He said Aurelio Miguel had cardio like he had never seen. Aurelio Miguel is somebody who won the Olympic Games in 19, I believe, 88, and he never scored a point. For the people who are listening, he never scored. He won all of his matches. At the time, the matches were 5 minutes. I think he had five-minute matches, and won all of his matches without scoring a single point.
Wow.
To fight that long at the Olympic Games is incredible.
Yes, I know, and it's crazy because judo is such a, like I think jiu-jitsu too, but jiu-jitsu can like break control the sleeves, because you're in the ground. But the judo, it's the full time mode,
Oh
like
my God.
let's go, let's go, let's go.
It is. I tell people this, and I love jujitsu. I love jujitsu. The cardiovascular comparison between judo and jiu-jitsu is just no comparison. It's
Yes.
it's just a lot harder because, and people say, oh yes, I'm not talking about the complexity of the techniques of the sport. What makes it harder are the physiological requirements that you're standing for so long. And because you're standing, you're on your legs, which is your large muscle groups that are on your legs. And it's
Hmm.
just a lot more blood requirements that go through the legs. So the volume of blood that's circulating and going through the legs and making your heart pump just makes it physiologically a lot tougher. The heart rate when you're doing judo is through the roof.
Yes,
Yes, it's
that's definitely true.
through the roof. Yes.
That's definitely true. It's insane, I tell my friends, in like my students, I started like some classes with a handori, like grip fighting, and
Hmm.
people like, wow, man, people already want to sit down. It's like, well, what's going on? I say, man, my legs been burning, my lower back, and it's like
And
those are
look,
this is a place you need to work, working on, man.
yes, yes,
So
yes.
and I know you are a doctor, and what is your degree, your doctorate are into?
My PhD is in education, with a
Okay.
concentration in the what we call the psychomotor domain,
Okay.
the domain of moving. I also taught exercise science, kinesiology, and nutrition at the university level. I taught at the University of Tampa and at the University of Central Florida. I'm also an editorial reviewer, on the board for the Strength and Conditioning Journal and the Journal of Strength and Conditioning Research for the National Strength and Conditioning Association.
That's awesome, man. Such an honor for you. For you, as all this background you already have, for any person wanting to implement, like to get better, how they, of course, they have to have a coach, to
Mm.
behind the scene. Please don't try to do anything by yourself. 'Cause I'm a very against that. Everything I wanted to do it for professional. I think because the fact, I trained jiu-jitsu for so long, and I don't trust much people like fast results, self-fast result, because I believe it can happen one of a million, but it's
Yeah.
a lot of hard work.
And I want to answer your question, but I want to stop right there to the people who are listening and tell them this. Do not think that you can get on YouTube and coach yourself. Don't think you can get on Instagram and coach yourself. For somebody who I've been a black belt since 2006. Okay, I'm a four-stripe black belt now. Me and professional manager probably see so many bad techniques online. But
Yes.
most of the people who are watching the techniques aren't black belts. They're purple belts and they're brown belts and they're blue belts. And everybody's saying, oh man, that's an amazing technique. It's a great technique. And there's some details that are really, really wrong with the technique. But we don't want to be the people that come in and be like, hey man, that's wrong and that's no good. And because that's not my job. My job is to teach the people who pay me.
Yes.
And a lot of people get led down a path when they are watching videos that it's just not very helpful. And there's even
And not
individual.
realistic too. Not realistic. Let's put it that way too. Sometimes
Yes,
people show some videos like I was like,
it's not true.
man.
Right? It's not. It's like that person never gonna put their hand there. They're never gonna put their leg there. It,
Mm,
it looks great for the likes on TikTok, but it's not a real technique. And I tell my students all the time, watch the videos that I give you. If you want to go on one of the sites and you want to buy videos from Gordon Ryan or you want to buy Marcelo Garcia video or Keenan Cornelius. If you want to buy some of those videos, that's great. I have no problem with some of those things because You're not just grabbing anything or thing off YouTube, and those particular things are vetted by people who are in the top of their field. But I will say this: you have videos that have been provided by some of those people. I can tell you one right now by Ryan Hall. Ryan Hall has videos that he shot early in his career when he was around blue belt, purple belt level. And then he has videos when he shot later on in his career when he's black belt level. The videos are different. The things that he was doing at that time, they worked
Hmm.
and they're good, but they're not as refined as the videos that he has out now.
It's different.
And it's different. And it's just like older videos in judo and older videos in jiu-jitsu. Sometimes things change and they evolve. When I was coming up in jiu-jitsu, there was no difference between there was a sweep that we did called the flower sweep.
Hmm.
Uh, like 3 years ago, I'm looking online. I'm looking at the flower sweep. I can't find a flower. There's a flower sweep. And there's a pendulum sweep. When I was starting jiu-jitsu in 1998, the flower sweep and the pendulum sweep were the same sweep.
Yes. Man,
But
I have the same struggles as you.
but I was like, what the hell is going on? And then I'm seeing all these different names, and I don't know what anybody's talking about anymore.
Yes.
Especially um when we're talking about no gi. Like I don't know when you started jiu-jitsu. When did you start jiu-jitsu?
I started jiu-jitsu 2011.
Okay, so good. So you came a little bit after me. So when I started jiu-jitsu, and I will say this to your practitioners, I don't care what nobody says, man. Jiu-jitsu is in the gi.
Yes.
Jiu-jitsu is in the gi. You can apply the principles of jiu-jitsu in a no-gi environment, just like you can apply the principles of judo to business and
Yes.
negotiations and how to talk. But judo is done in the gi. When I was coming up, you stay in the gi until purple belt. And then when
Okay.
you get purple belt level, you take the gi off. And then you could go gi and no gi. But the foundation of the gi is so important. People do no gi too early. And here's what I tell people: when you do no gi too early, you don't put a premium on holding position. Because in no gi, you're always thinking about, if I get out of this, I could do this. And if I get out of this and do this. And the people who do no gi, they say, I don't like gi because it's slow. It's not that you don't like gi because it's slow. You don't like gi because you don't know how to get out. And the reason why you don't know how to get out is because you didn't learn how to get out of those positions. Because every position in gi is at a premium. If the fight for gi, you have to fight before the person gets that position. In no gi, you can lose that fight, and when they get out the position, you can slide out. Because
Yes.
no gi is based upon skin to skin and sweat, which is viscosity, and gi is based on cloth to cloth, which is friction. And the friction slows the movement down and it makes everything tighter. The people who start out doing gi are better overall jiu-jitsu practitioners. I don't mean that doesn't mean they win the world championships. That means they're better practitioners, they're better instructors.
Yes. I
So the
100% agree with you. It's not about disliking because here's the thing. I started fighting no-gi. I was a purple belt. I didn't do any no-gi much. I did some, but not
little
much.
bit, right?
Yeah,
Right.
I was a blue belt. White belt, I did not zero because in Brazil,
None.
Brazil was not popular back then. Right? So when I win the American National as a no-gi, was for me was like, whoa, I train only gi and I win a no gi and I win against a very tough opponent. Like now, Devonta Jones is from out of New York. He's a black belt as well right now. And I was like, man, I just should switch the whatever I learned on gi to put on no gi. And a lot of people like, no, I just like no gi because it's better. It's not. I don't like the holding. But you like said, nobody hates something or talking bad about something if they don't know how to do it. So that's the reason a lot of people critique like crazy, gi or no gi or whatever, like because they don't know how to comportate in each one in the one. I think that's very true. I like that. I like that point of view.
Mm, mm, mm.
Because it's like sometimes people just like to blast like about techniques and stuff like that, but like I said, if you have a really good foundation and you said the same thing, it just confirmed what I've been believing my entire life. If you have a really good foundation, I believe, like I talk to my student all the time, rice and beans, it's the basics. It's what work. Like the fancy stuff works, the beautiful stuff is on YouTube, Instagram, whatever. Like I said, people wanted to do likes and stuff like that. I 100% understand and respect that, but rice and beans what make things stronger.
Exactly. And I tell you this, man, as somebody now who is 47, I cannot do some of the moves that I did when I was younger. And I tell my students this. I said, man, if it's jujitsu, it works at 4 years old and it works at 64 years old. I said,
Yes.
otherwise, it's tactics and things that we use for sport. I don't have a problem with that either because I teach tactics and things for sport. But everybody who comes into my dojo does not want to be a jiu-jitsu or judo world champion. They want to learn good quality jiu-jitsu and good quality judo. And I think that a lot of people miss the importance of teaching good quality judo and good quality jiu-jitsu. And I don't have a problem with. I'm singling this move out because a lot of people know it. It's not a bad move. I don't have a problem with learning the berimbolo.
Mm-hmm.
I have a problem with learning the berimbolo system at a white belt. Like
Yes.
we need to learn how to sweep. We need to learn how to pass. We need to learn how to hold position. We need to learn the Kuzuri Keisukatame, the Keisukatame, go into the Munigatame, to the side mount, Ushiro Keisukatame, reverse side mount, and then Tachi Shigatame, the mount, and then learning the three cross chokes, the Kata Juji Jime, Gyaku Juji Jime, Nami Juji Jime, understanding the cross chokes, setting the cross chokes up into the Juji Gatame, into the arm bar, learning the arm bar escapes, and like these quality jujitsu that you need to learn. And then, yeah, man, I don't have a problem. Like, you don't like leg locks. Man, I won my strike force fight with a leg lock. I don't have any problem with leg locks. Use leg locks when you've exhausted the ability to pass. Like you got two purple belts together and they're trying to sweep and the guy can't sweep and the guy can't pass. Then the game has gotten to the point where it's deadlocked. He's like, you guys are at a great level. Now let's open up the rest of the game. Here's the leg locks. And that doesn't mean I don't teach leg locks to them early. Yeah, I start introducing the leg locks at the blue belt level, introducing. But when they're rolling, I remove it, and then I let it go. I teach my kids arm bars as soon as they get to the dojo. I teach them arm bars. And judo people don't like it. I teach them arm bars, and they do it on a dummy, so that when they get to a certain level, they already know the arm bars.
You don't have to waste your
You
time.
have to waste your time.
Yes, I love that, man. I mean, you have the same mentality
Yeah,
because
I don't mind teaching. I think that you don't should. I don't mind teaching white belts and blue belts an introduction to leg locks. I don't want them doing leg locks during randori.
yes.
Drill the leg locks. Keep
Mm.
drilling, and then when you get to the level, all the techniques that you put in your treasure chest, we unlock that, open it up, and then you can use all of them.
Okay, that's man, that's wow. That's been blowing my mind. Thank you so much. You've been good. I've been just like thinking about it. Everything you said is making a lot of sense for me because it's something I've been believing my entire life, and that's how my professor in Brazil showed me. But it's also because sometimes I have like to be normal is weird nowadays, you know. So sometimes I
Yeah.
just like, man, I'm doing this right because like I don't know, see people like showing people. Of course, I not comparing to no one, but it's good to see how the quality of your work, you know, things like that.
And listen to me. People who come into our dojo, like it's cool to watch ADCC. I competed in ADCC. I like it. It's cool. But don't get confused. The people who come into your dojo when they're kids, sometimes they play soccer, sometimes they do wrestling, sometimes they play football, sometimes they do volleyball, sometimes they do another sport. The executives and the professionals, the mom and dads, they come into your place. They don't want you doing a heel hook on them so they can't go to work in the morning.
Yes.
Like that. So I don't care. Heel hooks are great, but nobody wants you doing a reverse heel hook, and everybody's ability to understand how to. Here's what I'll say. Here's what I'll say. We would all, and I don't. People are gonna say, "Oh yeah, but some kids go hunting." Yeah, some kids do go hunting. They do, But the likelihood of us taking a gun and putting it in a daycare around a bunch of kids and just dropping it on the floor is very unlikely. Why? Because the kids will get hurt with that weapon. It's if we introduce the weapon to the kids, we remove the bullets, we remove the cartridge, we let them, or they play with a dummy or a rubber gun, but they don't play with a live gun in practice because somebody's going to get hurt.
Yes.
Allow the people to play with the dummy gun in practice. Let them drill it. And then when they get mature enough, let them shoot.
Yes, you definitely said something, man. That's awesome. That's definitely a definition of what I believe as well. Okay, and
Mm-hmm.
so now let's go back a little bit to the past. I was gonna ask you like you went to 2004 to the Judo Olympics, right? And I believe it, was hard. I wanted to know like how was your mental because it's like. To achieve something like that big, something that great, it's not you don't know how a lot of people who does like who like you see a jiu-jitsu oh, I'm a jiu-jitsu world champion, well that's nice, it's a very selective field, but the Olympics it's different because it happen every 4 year, and you have to do like full year for circle, like you winning and keeping getting points to get a certain level. I just wanted to know like how was your mentality when you are facing those, because I'm pretty sure your life was not super easy during that time, and how to do life and doing judo, and as well like how you use your head up there back then.
So when I was competing, I was also I finished my master's degree, and I was working on my doctorate degree. And I finished my doctorate in 2009 while I was coaching somebody else to go to the Olympics. In terms of the mental toughness, I had a sports psychologist, which is important at that level. And you have to really be mentally tough because you're going to lose a lot. I was telling the story to my students. I went to Europe. I competed in Europe for the first time in 1998, 1998, 1999, 2000, 2001, 2002. I don't win not one match in Europe, not one. And I was telling them, I said, because the way you guys cry and you whine when you don't get something right the first time, I said, could you imagine traveling all over the world for 5 years and not winning a match in Europe? Not one. Not one. I said, you have to be so mentally tough to keep coming back to the drawing board and keep grinding and grinding and grinding and grinding. That the level of mental toughness supersedes anything that you thought that you would need for sport. I tell people all the time, you need to go watch peanut butter being made. They say, why do you say that? I said, well, if you ever watch peanut butter being made, you'll notice that it takes a lot of peanuts that you have to put in first before any peanut butter comes out. And then you got to put more peanuts in for peanuts to come out. And there's always peanuts left in the machine that never come out. You have to always, always, always be putting into the repetition machine. And you don't know how many repetitions it takes for your machine before the expertise comes out. And you have to be willing to sit in the hole. You have to be willing to lose. Like you trained in Brazil, like I trained in Brazil. You'll be in a room, man, with black belts and brown belts and purple belts that will just beat you to death, man. And you're getting beat. You're getting beat on for years, and you can't beat anybody in the room. Like I would go in the room, I can't beat nobody. Like nobody. You have to be able to withstand a level of discomfort that a lot of people aren't used to, especially in today's society. When I grew up, you still had to warm up your food in the oven or on the stove. My kids only know how to warm up their food in the microwave. I grew up and saw the invention of the remote control. There was no remote control. There wasn't anything where you could do something in 1 minute and then pop and then the whole thing is finished. It's the children nowadays live in a microwavable society. They live in a society surrounded by apps, a society where they believe that things have to be done right here and right now. And if I don't get it right the first time, I suck. I have literally watched children and adults cry at practice because they can't get something right. And I'm telling them, I said, I've been working on those Sotogari for the past 30 years, I can still improve. But the difficult part is, I guess, the mental juxtaposition and the emotional juxtaposition of not being okay with losing, while at the same time understanding that losing is necessary for winning.
Yes. Wow, man. That's that's the shit hard because you said something like about being beat up, like pretty much those people try to murder you, and that's absolutely true. Like I lived that every day of my life. Like I remember a little quick story, right? I'm just gonna do a little bit how I started in judo, then I become to jiu-jitsu. So I started in judo. I was in a school and jiu-jitsu school in Brazil, and a Christian school. And you know, if whoever go to a Christian school in Brazil, that doesn't mean they're good kids. They're terrible kids, and your parents just wanted to send them to a place so can somebody can at least educate them. And people don't. My parents didn't realize is like I was not the only person there who was a bad kid. All the parents have the same goal to send them to a Christian school to be able to those kids get better, you know. And jiu-jitsu and oh sorry, judo was a very something I took very seriously ever knew when I first started, because I took all that anger, all that madness of like living, you know, like the my family, my parents was getting divorced, and all that struggle I was having, I driving to that. And our professors, like are saying, like they man, every single day we trained, they go hard as they could be back then to us. And I never understand. Sometimes I heard, you know, like, oh man, my sensei is like being mean, that he don't like me or whatever, right? And things gotta change, and he started understanding. It's a big frustration for me now. I already told my wife the other day I wanted to go back training. What I live in San Ange, you don't have the closest gym is the east side and 3 hours from away from me. It's because I trained judo for 3 years. I didn't get no belt. Why? Because the professor said you have to come to my dojo. And my mom, she hated any sport. So she didn't want me to do a sport because she thinks the sport would be make me crazier or make me to have a like a
Violent.
yes. So back then, now when she came to US, she loves and she saw her schools and she's like, wow, so awesome. But I told her the importance of she telling me no, because every time my mom said, I'm not gonna take you to do your test, just should grow something inside of me like bigger, you know. So I started there, and then I say, man, after 3 years, I told my professor, I'm not training no more, because all my friends I hear I beat them or they beat me, but they getting belts and I'm not getting. My professor, I'm sorry, this is not my problem. You have to go to my dojo.
Exactly.
You know, so this is your problem. Figure out, go walking. And back then I was like, man, I can't do it. You know, it was far anyway. So I stopped judo. Couple years later, I was being really crazy kids, you know, like involved with drugs and things like that. And my neighbors say, hey man, let's do jiu-jitsu, you know, I think that would be good for you. Every that day until the day I left to come to US, it's a murder scenario every single day. I remember one day I went to drink water without asking the permission, and in judo you cannot. Some jiu-jitsu schools they keep the judo tradition on the dojo, right? Very.
Especially the old school jujitsu.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So it's very old school, my professor. And one day the guys were talking, and I don't know, I just passed through then, like between then, and then went and grabbed my water
Oh
and
my
grabbed.
God.
I remember. I swear to God, I remember. Only thing I remember is was about an hour and a half. rolling without water, and they tried to murder me, and they just making fun, but they were just like, okay, you don't give up yet? I was like, no, I'm gonna keep coming. And chill, my professor said, man, I cannot break you. After that day, it was a Diego before that day and a Diego after that day. And I was like, wow. And then the guys come try to cover up my mouth, and my professor like jumping, and other guy jumping, and every single day. So, like, I think it's very important you said that, like, about the kids nowadays, back then, because it's hard. Like, I'm going to be honest, I love technology, but it's hard to sometimes to try to live in the old way, but it's sometimes necessary. The grind is necessary to be able to grow that anger. In a perfect example, like, I hate to run. I hate it. Like, I think it's what the craziest thing in my life I hate is to run. And I always been excused like, man, I don't run, I suck, I don't go, I don't like to run. And one day I said, you know what, I'm gonna shut my mouth, I'm gonna put my shoes on, and I'm just go for a run. And every my body, it was reacting like, you're not gonna give up yet, you know stop. My thought was coming, and I have to block that. I was like, dude, I'm gonna run 2 miles, and then begin. Now I run to 4 to 6 mile, 3 times a week, and I'm challenging myself every day. So I think it's be resilient, and jiu-jitsu and judo taught me that so much.
And it was hard when you coach the kids, especially for judo. And I have to show parents I have to show them the kids in Moldova, the kids in Mongolia, the kids in Ukraine, the kids training in Russia, the kids train. I say, your kids aren't training like this. I say, your kids fall on the ground one time and they cry. I said, the kids from Korea and Japan, they're training and it's no problem. I said, your kids are soft. And I have to be very honest with them, and it's okay. But when you really look at it, it becomes it's a national security issue because our armed forces can only select out of the pool of people that we have available. And the children or the kids who are choosing to play football, who are choosing to wrestle, who are choosing to play judo, who are choosing to do jujitsu, those are the children in the combat sports. Those are really the pool of people that the military are choosing from. And if those kids can't train and prepare themselves in the appropriate form or fashion, as a whole, the country gets weaker. And I think that parents have to understand the word abuse. All right, they need to understand the word abuse. And if you break it down in the Latin, the word abuse, AB, means outside of use, outside of what can be utilized. So if I'm training somebody in ballet, if I train them like they're getting ready for a judo tournament, that could be abusive because it's outside of use. But if I'm training a kid to compete at the US Open who is going to run up against the kids from Ukraine and Russia that live in Philadelphia that train at some of those clubs, they got to be prepared to get on the mat. Otherwise, I'm at fault for not preparing them the way they need to be prepared. Now, there's some kids in my dojo that they don't have any aspirations of competing at all. If I train them like I train the kids that compete, that would be abusive because it has no use for them. So you have to look at what each kid desires, and then you have to look at what each kid needs outside of what they desire or not. Because I tell my parents in my dojo all the time when they come to sign up for my place, so they say, well, we want to just see how Lisa or Johnny likes it. I give them their credit card back and I say, this is not the dojo for you. I say, you don't belong here. I said, because if your child is making a decision on whether they want to come to practice or not, this is not the school for you. I said, because the time will come and a day will come when your child doesn't want to go to practice. I said, I don't sign a contractual agreement with a child. I sign an agreement with a parent. And as a parent, are you committed to bringing your son or daughter to practice? Yes or no? Well, we can't make that commitment at this time. Absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much. And go. Because I need people who are committed. I'm not there to hustle anybody out of their money. I'm not LA Fitness or any other gym, and I don't have any problem with LA Fitness, but any other gym that's just trying to. I'm not just trying to get memberships and then you not come.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to learn. I'm here to educate and teach. I want to help people grow, and I use judo and jujitsu as the conduit for growth.
Yes, that's wow. That's yes. I have no words, because I sometimes as a business owner, sometimes some guys come and some parents comes and like, oh my kid, he don't want to come no more, my kid, and I give her some time example, but I stopped saying it because people thought I was like out of my mind and I was mad, because I was like, losing man because who provides for me is God, so I trust Him. So man,
Yeah,
or whatever. If they come in, come out, it's from God. I don't have to have that worry. But I said, if you having a bus and the bus coming and the bus coming fast, and you and your kid beside each other, and your kid decide to jump on the front of the bus, what you would do? The parent said, grab them. I'll say, okay, perfect. You don't have to rinse anymore. The fact you grab your child, you're saving him. You know what would be best for you and it would be best for your child because you're adult. You're a
correct.
decision maker. It's not
Yes,
a kid who is have 10 years old, who not a kid have a 6 years old who make the decision. I
make
don't
the
like it.
decision.
I don't
Yes,
like
it's
because
correct.
it's too soft. My
Bro,
friend.
it's crazy.
Yes, I
It's
a hundred
crazy.
percent. Yes. I that and and people think I'm mean. The fact I say that because it's like, well, you have to understand. I was like, oh, but they don't enjoy it. I was like, I understand that it's not everything in life is
You're gonna
enjoyable.
enjoy.
Yeah,
I don't. Where do people get this whole thing about? Don't get me wrong. I want class to be an enjoyable experience sometimes, but
yes,
class is not gonna always be fun.
yes,
Yeah, listen. 10-minute rounds, 8-minute rounds are not fun. Sitting in the triangle trying to get out in situationals, not fun. These things are not fun. It's not fun. But somebody with the hooks in it and they have your back over under seatbelt grip and you got to get out. It's not fun. It's not fun. But you have to learn how to exist in uncomfortable situations to prepare yourself not for judo, not for jujitsu, but for life.
for life. Yes, that's the what I tell majority of our parents. I said we're trying to create and build a different child for the society. It's not
Correct.
even for like only for you because like, oh, my kid's gonna be good at home, whatever. But your kid not gonna be for rest of his life inside of the home. The kid's gonna start to get work, go, get a girlfriend or whatever, So it's very important that kid have a manners, And I think that when you mentioned that, it's like it's for the listeners, it's open the eyes for those one who have a child because I have a 9 months old. Right, she's great, and I told my wife, I said she have no option to don't train. And the parents think like some. My wife when we first started having the conversation, she thought I was crazy and I was like being mean. I was like, no, because she have to learn what jiu-jitsu provide to myself because it saved my life. Second, this is can be like she can go to college. She always like know how to stand herself. She can go to college, school. Somebody try to bully her. She knows. She have the experience. She have that uncomfortable accountability to be on a mat by somebody trying to choking you hard. If some guy, some boy try to do this to her, she gonna know how to
So
stand up for
I,
herself.
I don't understand. It is my children didn't have any option. My daughter's 12 and my son is 16. All right. They have no option. Can you hear me, Diego?
Yeah, yeah, go ahead. I'm just
Yeah.
want to open it up
Yeah.
real quick.
Yeah. They have no option about training martial arts. Now, my son plays football. After he got 14, 15 years old, then yeah, he spent more time doing football, more time running track. But in the beginning, he didn't have any option because we utilize the art in the sport of judo to prepare for everything else. Man, he's a great football player in high school. And people want to know how he got so good and how he's so tough, how he's so resilient. Man, it's from the judo. It's from the jiu-jitsu. It's from being on the mat all of his life since he was 4 years old. And I can't understand why anybody on this earth would want to walk around and not understand how to defend themselves.
Yes, I 100% agree with
Like
you. Like,
why would you want to walk around and not be able to defend yourself?
it's not only yourself as well, but I meaning of others, because it's like, hey, man, if I'm somewhere and I have the confidence and the comfortability, I know I can defend myself. But if I see something and the first thing I do, I pull my phone and try to record and not helping, that's, I
Yes, man, that's
cannot
bad.
sleep in no more. I
Yeah, that's
cannot live in no
horrible.
more.
And the one thing that it provides you is I've been beat up by people so much smaller than me that I have a great amount of self-control. When something escalates, I try to de-escalate it because no matter what size you are, you always know somebody else can beat you. Jiu-jitsu and judo teaches you this very clearly. Yeah, you learn this very quick. I just think there's so much value in learning martial arts, man, and teaching martial arts. There's just so much value.
Yes, I know, and especially as a child, like it's very important to be able to growth from there. And it's like I said, it's not only because of like, oh, I'm trying to make money. No, it's like I tell people all the time, you don't have to come here.
Mm.
You don't have to train with me. I know how much time and practice, and how much I invest on myself, but I want you, the people understand. You know, I'm very happy to have you here. I honestly, it's very cool for me to have you with me, and like it looks like we've been talking for so long already. I just feel like it's been 10 minutes. Let me ask you another question. How was your transitions? How no, not transition, but how jiu-jitsu and judo helped in your business life? How was that transition for you?
Oh man, it helped a lot, man, because it lets you know, as I said before, that sometimes early in the process, man, you fail. Like a lot of people don't know when you start a business, you go in the hole when you start a business first. Like financially, you go in the hole. The investment, you go in the hole, and then you make money. And people think you just start a business and you just start making a lot of money. And that's not really, and people, that's not really how it goes. People want to tell you that online. That's not how it goes, man. When you start business, you struggle. Sometimes you struggle for a few years until you get some systems in place. And the one thing I really learned from judo and jiu-jitsu, man, are having sound systems, grip fighting systems, scissor sweep systems, uh, um, triangle systems, understanding of the system, a systematic approach of how to grip, how to attack, how to transition, how to do newaza. Like having systems in place help my judo and my jujitsu, I mean, accelerate. And you have to have systems in place when it comes to your business. You got to have systems in place. The other thing that helped me on is let me understand that, man, I don't care how good you say you want to be, you need a coach. People people go in business with no business coach, man. That is the wrong thing to do. You need a business coach, you need business mentors. When I trained for the Olympics, I had a head coach, Eddie Liddy. I had a Tachiwaza coach, Angelo Reeves, he's a three-time Olympian from Puerto Rico, and Eddie Liddy was a 84 Olympian, bronze medalist for the United States. I had a Newaza coach who was Lloyd Irvin at the time. I had a strength and conditioning coach, Juan Carlos Santana, out of Florida, and I had my sports psych person who was Dr. Peter Haberl out of Colorado Springs, Colorado. Like I had a lot of coaches, and I had physicians that I dealt with. I had masseuses that they had on staff there. Like there's a lot of people that are on your team that make it so that you could be successful. And in
To build
business,
you up.
yeah, you need to have people on your team in business in order to be successful. You have to have this. And the one thing that I also did, and I'm not the type of person to push religion down anybody's throat, but man, when I was training, especially when I was in Colorado Springs, Colorado, one of the major things that I did was, man, I found a church as soon as I got there, man, a good church to go to, so that every Sunday I can reset and recharge to get ready for the week. I couldn't make Bible study and all that stuff because I was training during the week, but every Sunday to kind of emotionally and spiritually reset and recharge. Just like you got to reset and recharge your body with recovery, just like you got to reset and recharge your emotions with seeing your psychologist, you need to recharge and reset, spiritually as well. And that's one of the things that I did.
Yeah, man, we feel that it's like I, you can see the difference, like we always made mistake in the past. We always made major, mistakes, and that's how we, as a part of winning in life and get better. It's like going through those moments to be able to have a growth there, and sometimes the growth is painful, sometimes the growth is not painful, but it's always have to have a growth from no matter situation you've been into. uh I think the same way, from you. Like, I church for me, it's a better place. I can see myself and see farther, and like I said, you said as well, I don't want to like put religion to nobody's throat, because I made mistake. I continue to make mistake. You too, anybody, no, everybody, nobody's perfect, but it's a place who is uh feel the comfortability to be able to like open your chest, say, man, Jesus, I'm here, I thank you for everything you've done it to me. And you see, it's like a message of my pastor said that something like some to me one time, like a message of hope you taken home, to have like no second doubt no more, like, man, I'm that, this is happening, this is bigger than me. No, this is a little seeds get to your heart and keep it growing, things like that. So it's very, very important for me as well, right? To go to church. But some people do whatever they want.
And a lot of people say, "Oh man, there's people in church that are like this, and people in church like that." I don't go to church to focus on those people. I go to church to focus on God and myself. And
Yes.
people say, "Yeah, man, but you're a Christian and you do so and so, so and so." I say, "Yeah, I also play judo, and every time I play judo, every match that I play judo, I always got a shido.
Yes.
The shido, for people who don't know, a shido is a warning. You make a mistake, it's an infraction. Just because I'm a good judo player doesn't mean that I don't still make shidos.
Yes.
I'm trying not to make the shidos, but sometimes I still make shidos. And then, unfortunately, when you look at judo, you got to look. You say, sometimes I make the shido because the shido is easier than doing the right thing. So sometimes I step out of bounds and I get a shido, and I shouldn't. I should circle and I should move, but I just feel like I'm up in the score. I don't necessarily need to do it, and then I make a mistake. And
Yes.
I think people judge people by their mistakes. They don't judge people by their intent.
Yes, definitely true. Another question I asked you before, we go there. I saw a picture you and David Goggins, man. Can you tell us like a little bit about that guy? I don't know how you've been like around. He was a media or something. I'm a huge fan. Of course, he's ever one of the toughest and different mind I ever read about it. Actually, I'm finished his book. His new books never finished. Is right here. I have 15 pages left, and I just want to see, like, like how was your thoughts, and how was the conversation if you had the opportunity.
So in 2011, did a 13 college speaking tour with the Navy SEALs through all the schools in the CIAA. And I spoke alongside David Goggins, I would say maybe 4 or 5 of those times.
Wow.
So I mean, we hung out, we've had dinner, like I know David Goggins. We haven't talked in a while. Last time I hit him last year, man, at the end of the year, on Instagram. We talked briefly, but he's super, super busy dude. He is intense. When I mean intense, like he's a super, super, super intense guy. And
No aspect.
yes, in all aspects, he's super, super intense. He's laser focused. He reminds me of an elite level athlete. He's super, super selfish. He's super, super self-absorbed. He's super, super into what he's doing, and I don't mean that in a negative. because when you are goal oriented, your life has to be set up around the things that you do. I remember when I was talking to Jimmy Pedro. Jimmy Pedro was a four-time Olympian, two-time Olympic bronze medalist, and a world champion in judo. He was like, "Man, if you're going to be good at this, you're going to have to be selfish." He said, "And you're going to have to find people who are okay with you being selfish for a period of time." And that dude, David Goggins, is selfish in a sense that he's selfish while at the same time being very giving. And I say
Yes.
that because his life, he creates a life of discipline, of self-discipline. So much so that he can share his self-discipline stories with the rest of the world. And I tell people this, I say something similar about Michael Jordan. It's impossible for Michael Jordan to be a world-class husband and a world-class father. It was impossible. How could he do that? He was entertaining us. So he was selfish in doing what he wanted to do, but he was unselfish in that he shared it with all of us. And David Goggins is the same way. David Goggins is an incredible human being. He gives people hope to do what they think is impossible. He makes people take that word impossible and break it down to say I'm possible. And he's incredible. And the people who are listening to me who heard me call him selfish, if you don't understand what I'm saying from the sports side and from the elite level side, then you'll hear it as a negative. But there's no way. Like if you're gonna be the best in the world at something, there's no way.
Yes. You
There's
have
no
no
way.
way, no
There's
way.
no way
Yes.
with listen, you're gonna have to lock yourself in a room and it's gotta be all about you. That's
Yes.
that's just what it is.
Yeah, I saw the picture. Said, "Wow," and it's funny because I was reading, and then I stopped, and I was like, I looking at your website, and I saw. It's like, "Whoa, that's awesome, man! That's really, really cool." Because I'm a huge fan. It's not big. I never heard about it, but I just started heard about it when it came out. His first book came out, and I just like I listened to the other book, and because of a student of mine, Eric, he's is a read bug. He reads every day a lot, and I said, man, I'm gonna give him a gift. And I bought the David Gaga book for him, and I say I'm gonna buy one, and I'm gonna finish this book this year. And then I recapitulate. I say, man, you know what? I have to train the discipline because I tell my student, I have to be the guys as well. Like, okay, man, it sucks, I know, but I'm gonna be the person who's gonna be in the front leading by those people. And I say I have a month to finish. And so the 19th, today's the 13th. So the 19th, I have 15 more pages. I gonna finish that book today. And I put a goal like every day I'm gonna read, and also I have to finish one book a month.
That's
So
good.
so I started there. I wanted to finish this year with 12 books, but it could be more.
Hmm.
So,
Fantastic.
man, and Randy, I just would like to finish up here, man. I know I think you have things to do as well. I truly thankful for your time. Man, this is that podcast. I'm pretty sure it's gonna be out there. People gonna be crazy, and I'm hoping people go follow you and people understand more about your journey, things like that. Just tell us your social medias where people can find you, and also I know you're strength and conditioning coaching, right? So tell us a little bit more about your products, and then now is the time to pitch yourself and go from there.
Okay. Well, I'm on Instagram. It's my name at Rhadi Ferguson, RHADIFERGUSON. I also have my business page, Tampa Florida Judo. So it's at Tampa Florida Judo. I do a podcast as well. You can find that on Instagram at Coffee with Rhadi. Or you can look on Apple Podcasts or Stitcher or any of those particular things. You can just type in my name, and it's my personal productivity podcast. One of the things that I really like to leave with people is one of my products. It's called coaching and teaching judo.com. It's great for judo, great for wrestling, and great for jiu-jitsu. You can find it at www.coachingandteachingjudo.com. It's a superb course for parents, for coaches, for athletes. And the beautiful thing is, it's only $7.
Wow. Okay, I'll have a look at it. Definitely, I'll
Yes.
have to be looking at that because I'm a huge fan of like supporting, and not only supporting, but like getting the product. Because sometimes you buy some stuff online and you're like, oh man, this is a good product, and then you just try to more go to it. You're just like, hey, I don't know what did you base that person got this from, like I don't know, because I'm in a point of a, like, I wanted to follow the person who have the results, no matter how like the theoretic you can show me the no science, whatever you wanted to show me, but you when you show me a result, I was like, well, okay, I'm going to listen to this guy because he have a result I want. Like you said it early in the podcast, we has to have a mentor for anything, to any beginning you want to do it. So I think that's a very awesome, and I'll make sure to put it in the description as well. And we go from there. All
Yeah,
right.
and the other thing is, I am known as being a really, really great grip fighting instructor. So when it comes to grip fighting, in my personal opinion, I tell people, man, when it comes to teaching it, I'm one of the best in the world, without a doubt. And if you want to get better at grip fighting and judo or jiu-jitsu, you go to www.gripfighting.com. And there is hours of free stuff. Hours. You don't have to pay anything. Go to www.gripfighting.com and enjoy all the free stuff.
All right. Thank you. I sure appreciate that. Definitely have that. Check it out. Okay. Dr. Roddy, thank you so much, sir. I
Thank you so
appreciate
much,
it for the
man.
time. Thank you.
All right, man.
Bye. Bye.
Fica,
Bye.
fica frio.
Yeah, fica frio. Valeu.